Well, glory be and mercy me, we've done it yet again. Here we are, walking around the graveyard. I'm doing my best these days to try and keep my mental health in a good state, but no story troubles me more than this one. Uh, we are about to re-elect Doug Ford, right, which is troubling enough, but the Ford administration, as well as the Trudeau administration federally, have made it fairly clear and fairly obvious to even casual observers that their plan is the abandonment of the populace. They are not going to help people succeed. They are going to dismantle the civil service. They are going to privatize. They are going to move in this direction. That Canada on a whole is facing a significant decline, and nowhere is this going to become more apparent than in our treatment of our elderly and disabled. That the government has made it so that we have a medically assisted dying program, right? MAID, to make it as dystopian as it possibly can sound, right? This is a system, and in a vacuum, it all sounds very lovely, doesn't it? Right? This is a system by which people who have terminal illnesses, people who are in a state of pain where they can't get any relief from it, can actually receive medically assisted dying so they can die with dignity. This was always the pitch, right? To the cynics in the room, we always knew that the tip of the spear, the salesman approach, right, was, oh, this will be a thing, so it'll be used so rarely, right? It'll be used for people who have like a terminal illness, who are very old and all of this sort of stuff. But really, it's what we're seeing is an expansion of the MAID program, and we'll continue to see an expansion of the MAID program to include and allow all different types of people to seek out medically assisted dying. And what it's done is it's given our rulers exactly the corridor they need to funnel the useless people they don't want to take care of into. And how do you do it? Oh, you just dismantle any kind of care or help for disabled people. You ensure that long-term care homes are essentially shitholes, right? You reduce the quality of life so dramatically for our weak and our vulnerable that it makes the medically assisted dying program more appealing. And in fact, in more and more cases, you make this the only option for these people, right? You make it so that, oh, sure, we could actually provide this treatment. Sure, we could actually provide this care, but we're not going to, right? There's no money in it for capitalists after all. But what we've got is we've got a way out for you with medically assisted dying. And in this way, what we have created here in Canada is a eugenics program. That what we are saying to the populace, and what is being said to the populace, outright and obliquely, is if you cannot provide your value or your worth to the death cult, right? If you can't get a job, which Doug Ford tells the disabled to do constantly, right? Just go and get a job, right? If you can't do that, well, we're no longer going to pay for your survival. We're no longer going to make it so that the pithy amount that we have given you in previously, well, that's no longer going to pay the rent. That's no longer going to pay the bills. That's no longer actually going to allow you to survive in this society. Certainly not with shelter, right? And so what we're saying to the people who the universe has given us to take care of, we are essentially just saying, go die. That's the long and short of what we're doing and the type of people that we are. Welcome to Canada. The irony of all of this, if you ask me, is that it's the people who pretend to be responsible, right? The pull yourself up by your bootstraps, buck up, you can do it. These crowd, who have turned out to be the most irresponsible and reckless people in the room, right? Because they don't actually care about personal responsibility. They're giving up their personal responsibility, right? The responsibility that a society has to take care of the poor and the vulnerable. The responsibility that individuals have to look out for the well-being of their neighbors, right? These are the responsibilities that actually make an adult an adult. And the very people who are standing up and saying, you need to take personal responsibility, are the very ones who are absolving themselves of this responsibility. Because at the end of the day, they don't care about responsibility, they care about selfishness. They care about themselves exclusively. What we are witnessing is a society that is pulling itself in two directions. Well, I shouldn't say pulling itself in two directions, it's pulling itself apart. That you have on one side the people who are going to retreat into the gated community, the people who have subserviated themselves to the capitalist death cult, the hierarchy, and who think that the capitalist death cult justifies itself, right? When people say get a job, what they really are saying is subserviate yourself to the death cult, right? And that's supposed to be a solution. This subservience to this death cult is just assumed to be a natural good, right? Hacks and losers call it a meritocracy, when anyone with a brain in their head can see that it's obviously generational wealth that's been passed down that has now spiked and exasperated the system in a way that is ensuring that there is a centralized power structure that is non-democratic, that is totalitarian in its structure and in its outlook, and those it abandons, right? And more we're seeing that it's the mass of the public, right? People are literally living paycheck to paycheck, more than half the society now living paycheck to paycheck. And if you can't even work to live paycheck to paycheck, well, go die, right? Go die. This, and what's absurd about all of this, like when I speak to the general public about these sorts of things, there's this blithe disbelief that this is what is in fact going on. I get kind of eye rolls and like, okay, John, whatever you say, like I'm a fringe kook, when all of this is being done in the open. None of what I have just said is a secret. This is all on the public record. This is what Canada is. This is what our society is, right? We're a society of selfish children and ignorant morons who are happily committing a eugenics project on our weakest citizens to purge the nation, right? So we no longer need to pay for it, while we pay double the amount it would cost to actually help them to go to war. This is the type of people we are. If you don't like it, the only option that remains is full-scale revolt. There is no other option. The Conservatives and the Liberals have obviously abandoned you. They're the ones who erected the system in the first place. And the NDP is completely corrupt. The NDP no longer exists as a workers' party. It no longer exists for the benefit of anyone except itself. It is a party of controlled dissent. So should the populace actually do the right thing and abandon the Conservatives and the Liberals like we should have done 20 years ago and end up in the NDP, well, the NDP will continue working on behalf of the capitalist class. The Eugenics project will continue because that's the goal. That's the strategy. Turns out, guys, giving all the money to a small handful of psychopaths has negative impact on the society. Who knew? What, the wealth didn't trickle down? I'm shocked, I'm blown away. We have to surround the halls of power. There's nothing left for us to do. And I don't mean have a march, right? I don't mean spend one day and walk by them. I mean that we have to surround the halls of power and either trap them out or trap them in to make their lives a living hell, to make sure that they understand that the way they are acting is psychotic and unacceptable, and we're no longer going to tolerate it. Because right now what I'm seeing is just a society of losers who are giving up not only on themselves but on their own children, right? To any Gen Z that are watching this, it's up to you now, right? The millennials have fallen into a nihilism. The boomers and Gen X have completely abandoned you. We're a pack of losers, right? We're just enormous losers, and you don't need to follow the rules of people who have abandoned you. We're literally murdering disabled people over here. Like, I don't know what you need anymore. I don't know what you need to see. Like, share, subscribe. We got to be supporting leftist voices. We got to fight against this algorithm. They're doing everything they can to make sure voices like these don't get heard. They're doing everything they can to ensure that their eugenics project and their project of abandonment is successful, right? They're not going to let people stand up and actually point at a shovel and call it a shovel, right? They want a gullible, compliant, moronic populace, and that's exactly what they're getting. So unless you actually form up, begin to organize in order to surround the halls of power to end this nonsense, you're not being serious about politics at all. These guys are walking us off a cliff. They are going to kill us. And then point at us and say that, oh, it's your fault that this happened. All right, guys. Always remember, man, you're a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. The psychopath class is spending billions of dollars to make sure that you never realize it. You just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Revolt, rebel, repent. Good luck. We're gonna need it.